The wind bit gently at Lauren's cheeks as she stepped onto the platform in Vermont. She tightened her scarf and wrapped her fingers around the paper coffee cup, lukewarm by now, but comforting in her palm. This was it. The moment she had envisioned for months. 40 years of her parents' marriage wrapped into one perfect trip. She'd chosen this station for its view of the foliage trees, burning gold, rust, and crimson in every direction. Her mother loved fall. Her father adored trains. And Lauren, she loved the idea of finally being seen. She handed the agent her ticket, offering a small, hopeful smile. But instead of a welcome, he frowned. "This ticket's already been checked in," he said, turning the scanner toward her, as if proof would soften the blow. Lauren blinked. "I'm sorry? What?" The scanner beeped softly again. It was scanned this morning. Passenger already boarded. Her heart skipped. That's not possible. But even before the words left her lips, her stomach dropped like it knew what her brain hadn't caught up to yet. She reached for her phone. And then it buzzed. Tiff really wanted to see the fall colors. "You don't even like crowds. We figured it made sense." It was from Brian. Lauren stared at the screen. She didn't cry. She didn't move. She just stood there. The train she'd planned down to the minute, the one with the panoramic windows, the anniversary bouquet, the warm blankets she packed in a labeled tote, was already gone. And so was her seat. Tiffany had taken it, and no one had even thought to tell her. A single buzz. That's all it took to shatter everything Lauren had spent months holding together. She looked down at her phone expecting, a system error? An update from Amtrak? But it wasn't a glitch. It was Brian. "Tiff really wanted to see the fall colors. You don't even like crowds. We figured it made sense." No punctuation, no apology, no warning, just casual justification as if giving her seat to Tiffany was common sense. Lauren reread the message. Then again. Each time it sank deeper. "You don't even like crowds." Like that gave them permission? Like preference excused replacement? As if choosing solitude meant she deserved exclusion? As if she hadn't spent years showing up, paying, planning, fixing, and now erased with a sentence and a shrug. Her fingers trembled, but not from the cold. Not a single person had called to say she wasn't needed. They had just gone, without her. The train had taken her family and her place in it. All that was left was her, Lauren, standing still on a platform she'd chosen for a trip she built, holding a coffee she no longer wanted. The leaves rustled behind her, golden and indifferent. She had never felt more alone. It started with a sticky note, a scribble in the corner of her planner. Berkshires, October, Maple. Lauren had written it after her mom casually mentioned over coffee one morning, "Your dad and I honeymooned up there. Little inn, squeaky floors, maple syrup on the windowsill." Her mom had smiled just slightly. That half-second of warmth was enough. Lauren opened her laptop that night and didn't close it until well past midnight. She researched scenic rail passes through New England, booked the historic inn with vineyard views, and even found the exact restaurant they'd visited 40 years ago. She upgraded their room to one with a stone fireplace, ordered a bouquet of fresh asters and goldenrod for the dinner table, and wrote the itinerary by hand, titled "Just Like Before." Her room, a cheap roadside motel, coach train seat. No fireplace, no views. She didn't care. This wasn't about her. It was for them. $9,000. That's what it came out to. She rearranged 6 weeks of her work calendar, burned through her PTO, and even left a reminder on her fridge, "Don't forget the anniversary candles." She never told anyone the full cost. She never wanted credit. She just wanted them to feel remembered. And now, all of it, the foliage, the dinner, the fireplace, was being enjoyed by someone who once used her toothbrush to film a TikTok in her guest bathroom. And still Lauren had made it beautiful, just not for herself. Lauren didn't call, she didn't text, she just stood there, still as stone, on the platform she had chosen, for the trip she had planned, for the people who had quietly decided she wasn't worth a seat. Around her, the world moved like nothing had happened. The train was long gone now. Leaves drifted down in slow golden spirals. Strangers passed with suitcases and headphones, laughing, boarding other trains going places. But Lauren, she stayed, her coffee untouched, her suitcase still upright, her silence louder than any scream. There was no confrontation, no meltdown, no dramatic goodbye. Just a woman frozen in the middle of a dream she built for everyone but herself. She had paid, she had planned, she had hoped. And now she was the only one not included in the memory she created. The ticket in her hand meant nothing, because what was once hers, her place, her effort, her intention, had been given away with a shrug. And no one looked back, not even once. Lauren was 16 when her father lost his job. One morning, the sound of the garage door stayed silent. No commute, no briefcase, just Dad sitting at the kitchen table, staring into his black coffee like it held answers. Her mom, Carol, tried to stay upbeat. "We'll get through it," she'd said, folding laundry that smelled like lemons and worry. But even at 16, Lauren saw the cracks. Bills started stacking up, groceries became smaller, and her parents, once inseparable, now moved like shadows past each other. So Lauren got a job, a local diner, double shifts on weekends, homework on napkins in the break room. She wore that stiff maroon apron like armor, burned her fingers on coffee pots, and smiled through rude customers. And every Friday, she placed her paycheck, still warm, in the envelope on the kitchen counter. Didn't say a word, just left it there. Her mom once called her my little rock. Lauren held onto that title like it meant something sacred. The rock doesn't complain. The rock holds. The rock doesn't crack, not in front of people. She never spent $1 on herself. Not for a dress, not for movie nights, not even for the SAT prep course she secretly wanted, because rocks don't dream. They carry. Brian crashed their dad's car twice before he turned 20. Each time, he walked away with nothing but a scratch and a story to tell at dinner. Their parents, they laughed. Boys will be boys. Lauren watched them chuckle over takeout while she stayed up comparing insurance quotes. When Brian barely passed microeconomics, their mom cried. "He's trying so hard," she whispered, dabbing her eyes. When he got into community college, a family celebration. Balloons, cake, champagne flutes filled with ginger ale. Lauren paid for his books. When he dropped out a semester later, they said he needed time to find himself. When he couldn't keep a job, Lauren helped him write his resume, drove him to interviews, paid his cell phone bill when he forgot. When he couldn't make rent, Lauren co-signed his lease. And when he didn't pay, she did. He moved in and out of her guest room 5 times, each time with a new excuse, a new plan, a new Tiffany. And Lauren, she never once got a thank you. Not from him, not from them. Because when Brian tried it, it was heroic. When Lauren succeeded, it was expected. Her mother never asked directly. She didn't have to. Instead, it came in soft phrases, carefully folded into casual conversation. "Your brother's doing his best. It's hard out there for young people. You're lucky to be so responsible. Not everyone's as capable as you, Lauren." It sounded like praise, at first. But over the years, Lauren started to hear what wasn't being said. There was never a thank you, never an "are you okay?" Never a single moment where her needs took center stage. Her reliability became the currency they depended on, and like any ATM, she was expected to work quietly, consistently, without breakdown, even when she was tired, even when she was drowning. The guilt didn't come with screaming, it came with gentleness, and somehow that made it worse. Because guilt wrapped in sweetness is the kind that sticks. It doesn't demand, it implies. It doesn't say, "give me everything." It says, "you're strong enough to handle everything." And somewhere along the way, Lauren believed it. Somewhere along the way, Lauren stopped being a daughter. Not officially, not out loud, but emotionally, quietly, it happened. She became the one who fixed things, the forgotten gift buyer, the emergency contact. The name they wrote down when the school form said responsible adult. At holidays, she was the one who remembered the recipe. At birthdays, the one who brought the candles. At funerals, the one who booked the flights and handled the flowers. If there was a crisis, they called her. If there was a bill, they assumed she'd cover it. If Brian failed, she was the net. Not because anyone said, "You're not a daughter," but because no one ever said, "You're allowed to be tired." They didn't want her presence. They wanted her function. Lauren had become a solution wrapped in a person, a role in the family system. And now that role was splintering, because you can only carry so much before the weight turns into a crack. And you can only hold your breath for so long before it starts to feel like drowning. Lauren didn't plan the trip to show off. She didn't care about credit. She wasn't trying to outshine Brian. She didn't want applause, a Facebook post, or a round of thank yous. She just wanted one more chance, one more memory, one more "I see you." One more night where her parents smiled because of something she gave, not something she paid for, but something she meant. It wasn't about the train or the hotel. It wasn't about foliage tours or anniversary candles. It was about proximity, about being close again, even for a weekend, about creating a moment that might stick in their minds when so many others hadn't. A dinner where she'd sit across from them, not as the planner or the fixer, but just as their daughter. She didn't say that out loud. She never did, because asking for emotional attention felt dangerous. So she did what she always did. She showed up with a gift, a trip, a perfectly wrapped, perfectly scheduled, perfectly invisible cry for connection. But this time, she hoped maybe it would be loud enough to be heard. Tiffany wasn't part of the original plan. She never was. Lauren hadn't even considered her. Not because she was cruel, but because, why would she? Tiffany had only been around for 6 months. A girlfriend, not a daughter. A guest, not family. But then a text came from Mom, so casual it almost felt like a joke. Tiff said her fall content would look amazing up there. Brian thinks it'd be fun if we added them. Is that okay? Them, plural, packaged, like Tiffany came with the deal now. No one asked where Lauren would stay. No one checked the reservations or train capacity or room limits. It was assumed that she'd make it work, like always. Lauren stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the screen. She didn't reply right away, because she knew the script. The request always came wrapped in pleasantries, the assumption hidden in a smile. And somehow the burden always landed on her. She was supposed to say yes, because she was the one who could adjust, because Tiffany's Instagram mattered more than Lauren's presence, because Brian had a +1. But Lauren, she was just expected. It was just an Instagram story, 15 seconds, no sound, a slow pan across a pair of new boots, deep brown leather, laced to the ankle, perfectly posed on a hardwood floor, Lauren's hardwood floor. The caption read, "Can't wait for fall adventures." She recognized the rug, the sunlight from her east-facing window, the boots right next to the coffee table her grandfather built, her house, her living room. No one had asked. No text saying, "Hey, can Tiff come over?" No courtesy knock. No explanation. Just Tiffany, in her space, her things, framing her life like it was set design for someone else's content. Lauren stared at the screen, her mouth slightly open. Not in rage, in disbelief. How did this happen? How did the girl who once used her toothbrush without asking now get to play cozy fall girlfriend in the life Lauren built with her own hands? She felt something tighten inside her chest, but she didn't say a word, because that's what she always did. She let it go, even when it was her space, even when it was her story, even when the boots were standing where she should have been. It hit her while scrolling. Lauren wasn't even looking for it. She was sitting by the window at a cafe across from the station, her coffee untouched, her suitcase still zipped shut when the algorithm served it up like a slap. Brian's post, a photo of their parents, standing on the train platform, arms around Tiffany, smiling, posed, effortless. The caption read, "Family Fall Getaway, Finally Making Memories Together." Her heart didn't break. It sank into something heavier than anger, sharper than sadness. Finally making memories together. Like Lauren had never existed in the first place. Like the hours she spent booking, printing, wrapping, calculating were just background static to a story she didn't belong in. There was no tag for her, no "wish you were here," not even a subtle nod. She wasn't missing, she was erased, and they were smiling. Not in guilt, not in regret, but in relief. It wasn't just that she'd been left behind, it was that they didn't even notice. And in that moment, Lauren understood something she had never dared admit. She wasn't part of their memory. She had just been holding the camera. She didn't go home. She could have driven straight back to the house she paid for, where Tiffany's coat now hung on the banister, and Brian probably left dishes in the sink again. Instead, Lauren got into her car and turned north. No GPS, no route, no playlist, just road and silence. The trees blurred past, their colors bleeding together like watercolors left out in the rain. Gold, red, orange, gone. Her phone buzzed. She didn't check it. The farther she drove, the quieter she felt, like the static in her chest was finally breaking up. After 3 hours, a green sign appeared, Brattleboro. She remembered it from a solo work trip 2 years ago, a small town tucked into Vermont's quiet folds. Nothing special. And somehow, that's why she turned the wheel. She found a roadside inn with a vacancy sign, checked in without unpacking. The clerk didn't ask questions, and Lauren didn't offer answers. The room had a fireplace and a window that looked out onto sugar maples. She sat in the armchair, a blanket over her lap, chamomile tea growing cold in her hand. And for the first time in years, no one needed her. No one asked where she was. No one demanded her strength. Just silence. And it didn't feel empty. It felt earned. She didn't check her phone. Not once. She saw the screen light up a few times, texts, maybe emails, but she let them come and go like cars passing on a road she wasn't standing in anymore. No replies, no explanations, no apologies for not being available. For the first time in maybe ever, Lauren didn't feel the urge to fix anything. No calendar to rearrange, no bills to forward, no "let me help" reflex tightening in her chest. She just sat. She walked through antique stores that smelled like old pages and pine, browsed shelves full of books no one had touched in years, bought a postcard but never wrote on it, folded it into a book and forgot it was there. She breathed, and every inhale felt unfamiliar, like air that belonged only to her. There were no emergencies, no guilt-soaked check-ins, just silence. And slowly, Lauren began to realize this quiet wasn't loneliness, it was peace. Back home, or rather back in the place that used to feel like home, Lauren opened her laptop. She shouldn't have, but curiosity sometimes feels like self-destruction wrapped in hope. Her mom had posted, again, dozens of photos, a weekend album titled "Celebrating 40 Years of Love." And there it was, the table. Her table, the same one she called 6 different restaurants to reserve, the one she upgraded to a private back room for ambiance. The one she ordered the fresh bouquet for goldenrod, and asters arranged exactly like her mom once described in a passing memory. The candlelight was soft, the napkins were folded, and in the center, her handwriting on the place cards, still faint but visible. And sitting where Lauren was supposed to sit, Tiffany, smiling like she belonged there, like this moment had anything to do with her. The caption below the photo read, "Grateful for our children who made this anniversary so special. Couldn't have asked for a more loving weekend." Lauren stared at the screen. Not angry, just hollow. It wasn't just that she wasn't there. It was that someone else had taken her place, and no one noticed the difference. Lauren wasn't broken. She wasn't sobbing in a dark room. She wasn't clutching her phone, waiting for an apology that would never come. She was calm and terrifyingly clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't poor communication. It wasn't one of those mix-ups. It was a choice. They had chosen. They had chosen Tiffany. They had chosen convenience. They had chosen to exclude Lauren without a single explanation because they knew she wouldn't fight it. They didn't forget her. They erased her. And now it was her turn. She didn't say anything to anyone that night. She didn't craft a message or rehearse a confrontation. Instead, she walked to the small desk in the corner of the in-room, pulled out her planner, and flipped to an empty page. No schedules, no family birthdays, no bill due dates, just one sentence. It's my turn to choose. And that night, for the first time in her adult life, Lauren didn't set an alarm. She didn't knock. Why would she? It was her house, her name on every bill, every deed, every document. She paid the down payment, covered the taxes, replaced the roof when it leaked. And yet, walking through the front door felt like entering someone else's space. The air smelled unfamiliar, sweet, and artificial. Not her candles, not her detergent. Tiffany's coat was slung over the banister, a puffy pink thing with faux fur trim. Oversized, loud. Lauren had never seen it before. She hated how well it fit in. In the guest bathroom, the towels she had folded were now threadbare and stained. In the fridge, her neatly labeled containers were gone, replaced by half-open takeout boxes and a carton of milk she didn't buy. The cushions on the couch were different. Someone had swapped out her throw pillows. There was a TikTok ring light still plugged in near the fireplace. Lauren moved from room to room in silence. No accusations, no anger, just a quiet audit of everything that had been taken. Her space, her rhythm, her name still on the paperwork, but her presence erased. This wasn't a home anymore. It was a battlefield she hadn't realized she'd been fighting on for years. Only now the war wasn't subtle. Now it had procs, costumes, and a starring role she never auditioned for. She didn't write a letter, not a note, not a let's talk, no guilt, no invitation for discussion, just a document, printed, delivered, professional, cold, final, a lease adjustment notice, 2 pages, bullet points, no flourish, monthly rent now set to market rate. Utilities no longer bundled. Guest privileges revoked unless approved in writing. Move-out grace period expires on the 1st of the month. Lauren placed one copy on the kitchen counter right between the half-eaten croissants and a chipped mug that wasn't hers. The second copy, certified mail, stamped, filed. She didn't write a post-it with a smiley face. She didn't add "Love Lauren" at the bottom, because this wasn't love. This was a line. No more free ride. No more blurred roles. No more unspoken expectations. This wasn't retaliation. It was reclamation. And she didn't owe them an explanation for it. The phone rang just after 2 p.m. No text first, no warning, just mom on the screen. Lauren let it ring twice, then picked up. No greeting. "What is this?" her mother said sharply. "Are you seriously charging us rent?" Not confusion, offense, like Lauren had insulted the family name instead of enforcing basic adulthood. "This is cruel," Mom snapped. "We're your parents." Lauren took a slow breath. Her voice was steady. "Then maybe you should have treated me like your daughter." Silence. Then, "So this is about that trip?" Still no apology. Still no recognition. Just the unspoken assumption, "We're your family. You don't get to say no to us." Lauren said nothing. Her mother's voice softened, a trick she'd used since Lauren was a child. "We didn't mean to hurt you. It just happened." Lauren could hear her pacing, the creak of the floorboard near the front window. "Your father's upset," she added. But Robert hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't said a word. Lauren's reply was quiet, almost gentle. "You could have talked to me." A pause. Then, "I could have, but I chose this instead." A full beat of silence followed. "You've got until the 1st, Lauren said calmly. "After that, it becomes legal." Her mother's voice broke for a second. "You're not serious." Lauren didn't yell. She didn't explain. She simply said, "I am." Click. The call ended. And for the first time, Lauren didn't feel guilty. Not strong, not proud, just steady. The email came 3 days later. Subject line, intent to dispute ownership. Sender, a law office Lauren had never heard of. She opened it, slowly sipping tea she didn't remember making. Inside, a scanned letter on fancy letterhead, filled with vague legal phrases and empty threats. On behalf of our clients, Robert and Carol, we assert long-term financial contribution and shared occupancy, grounds for equitable interest in the property, request for negotiation before further legal steps. There were no receipts, no dollar amounts, no lease, just language designed to sound scary, the kind that made people back down. Lauren didn't even blink. She forwarded it to her attorney. An hour later, he called. "There's nothing here," he said. "No legal standing." "It's noise." But Lauren knew better. It wasn't just noise. It was confirmation. They weren't sorry. They weren't hurt. They were threatened. Not by her actions, but by her boundaries. Because people like them didn't want her back. They wanted her power. And now that they couldn't use it, they wanted to punish her for taking it away. The knock came just after sunset. Lauren peeked through the window. A hooded figure, hands in pockets, shoulders hunched. Brian. He looked smaller somehow. Not physically, just shrunk. The way people do when they've run out of places to land. She opened the door halfway. No smile. "Tiff left," he said, eyes down. "Took her stuff. Blocked me. I don't have anywhere else to go." Lauren didn't blink. "What about Mom and Dad?" Brian laughed bitter dry. "They said I'm an adult, that I should figure it out." Lauren nodded slowly. "Maybe you should." Silence. "Come on, Laur," he whispered. "It's me." She stared at him for a long second. "That used to be enough," she said. "But I'm not your safety net anymore." Brian's mouth opened, then closed. No anger, no pleading, just quiet recognition. He turned and walked down the steps. Lauren didn't watch him go. She closed the door. And for once, it stayed closed. He never called. Not once. Not when the lease came. Not after the lawsuit failed. Not after Brian showed up at her door. Not on her birthday. Not on the anniversary of her college graduation. Not when her name was removed from the Christmas group chat. He didn't yell, didn't insult her. He just vanished. But Lauren knew something most people didn't. Silence is not always peace. Sometimes it's a strategy. Sometimes it's consent. And sometimes it's punishment. She remembered being 10. Dad forgot to pick her up after swim practice. He never said sorry. He brought her a donut the next morning and told a joke. It worked then, because she still believed love meant fixing things quietly. But she was no longer 10. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was complicity. He didn't stand up for her, didn't question Brian, didn't stop Mom when she twisted the truth. He was always neutral, but neutral when someone's being erased isn't neutral at all. Lauren didn't hate him, but she no longer missed him. It happened on a Sunday. Lauren pulled into the driveway, her car quiet against the gravel. Her dad was out front watering the roses, the same bushes Lauren planted when she was 15, the same ones he always forgot to trim until guests came. She didn't call out, just walked up steady. He saw her from the corner of his eye, didn't flinch, didn't smile. "You don't have to do this," he said, still holding the hose. Lauren looked at the water hitting the dirt, a slow, steady stream soaking into ground that never thanked her. She looked back at him. "I do." He nodded once, barely, then turned back to the roses. Didn't say another word. And that was the last conversation they ever had. The keys felt heavy in her hand. Not from weight, from finality. Lauren stood in front of the loft. Top floor. Old brick. A little chipped. But the windows, they faced the river. Inside, one chair, one lamp, one bed. No noise, no messages, no "can you cover this?" no "Brian needs help again." She set the last box down. Books. Mostly hers, finally. A candle. Her scent. Not the vanilla Mom liked, not the citrus Tiffany sprayed on everything. Just Lauren. She stood in the center of the room. No footsteps above, no arguments behind walls, no one to call her selfish for breathing. She breathed in, deep, and nothing collapsed. It came at 9:04 p.m. No subject, just a line. "We miss who you used to be." Lauren stared at the screen. "No, I'm sorry." "No, are you okay?" Just nostalgia for the version of her that never asked for anything. She remembered birthdays where the cake had Brian's name too, even when it wasn't his day. She remembered coming home sick from college and still being asked to run errands. She remembered building the anniversary trip and being erased from it. They didn't miss her. They missed the utility. The girl who said yes when she wanted to say no. The girl who paid when they didn't ask how she was doing. Lauren typed, "You miss the version of me who never said no. She's gone." She hit send, then turned off her phone, permanently. And for the first time in years, she didn't wait for a reply. There was no itinerary, no shared calendar, no group chat full of fake excitement. Just Lauren, a ticket to Maine, a notebook in her bag, and a window seat facing the sea. The train hummed beneath her, a low, steady rhythm. No one texting where she was, no one asking for favors. She flipped open the notebook. Blank page. Not scary. Inviting. She wrote one sentence. "This time, I choose me." Outside, leaves blurred past the glass, red, gold, fire orange. She didn't reach for her phone. She didn't scroll. She watched. She breathed. And somewhere between Station 9 and Station 10, Lauren smiled. Not because someone told her to, because she wanted to. She didn't pack much, just the notebook. One suitcase, and a sticky note she found folded in her old wallet. She stuck it on the mirror of her new place. Crooked, imperfect, just like the way healing begins. 4 words written in her own rushed handwriting. "I owe myself the most." She read it that morning, not like an affirmation, not like a quote from a podcast. She read it like a prayer, like a contract signed not with ink, but with everything she's lived through. The girl who gave everything away, she's resting now. The woman in the mirror, she's just getting started. She doesn't cry, she doesn't preach, she just speaks. Some stories aren't told for sympathy, they're told for recognition. A pause, a breath. Then Lauren looks up and, for the first time, she doesn't look like someone seeking approval. She looks like someone finally seen. Have you ever been the one left off the train? Not forgotten, just replaced. Then maybe this isn't just my story. Maybe it's ours. Fade to black. Soft music. And silence. The kind that lingers, because it knows it spoke to someone. Self-sacrifice should never be your identity, and real love should never ask you to disappear. Too often, people like Lauren are the glue that holds everyone else together, the fixers, the silent backbones, the ones who stay late, clean up the mess, and never complain. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, who's there for you when you're the one breaking? If you're always the last priority, when do you get to matter? Lauren didn't burn bridges. She didn't explode. She simply chose herself for the first time in her life. What can we take from her story? Don't wait until you're shattered to draw boundaries. Family doesn't mean permission to hurt you endlessly. And love, real love, never demands that you erase who you are. If you've ever felt like Lauren, left out, taken for granted, expected to give and give, you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button. This channel is for people who've carried too much for too long, for the quiet fighters. The ones who always show up, even when no one else does. We tell stories that don't just entertain, they heal. They remind you that your voice matters. Because maybe this wasn't just Lauren's story. Maybe it was yours too. Don't just watch. Join us. Subscribe now and take yourself back.